Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode number 226 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and this episode is brought to you by the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. The Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association believes that arts should be accessible to everyone. They're a great supporter of music, art, basically any type of performance you can come up with and display of artistic ability. They're going to support you. This is based out of Fort Dodge, Iowa. They do a lot of great things for the area, and we're happy to have them. So thank you very much to Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. Go to www.fdfineartsassociation.org to find out more. This episode, I'm sitting down with Dave Schmieder. Oh, man. Some of you know him, some of you don't know him, and we're all going to find out more about him because I ran into Dave maybe at a jam night once, and before I knew it, I was playing music with him, and he's really talented. It's cool to meet new people. It's cool to play music with new people, especially ones that are as easygoing as Dave. So check this one out. This is a great episode. It's episode 226 with Dave Schmieder.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
Okay, sit down. Dave Schmieder.
Yes.
Dave Schmieder is here on the podcast. I have to ask you right away. I don't know. We've played a lot of music together with Jesse Wilson.
Yep.
And the only thing I really know about you was I went to a jam night at the Eagles.
Yes.
And you just like showed up out of nowhere and were like, here's the guy, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of funny how that worked. I had seen Facebook posts of the jam down at the Eagles, and I really questioned, is that a fit or is it not a fit? Mm-hmm. So I was flipping through Facebook, and I happened to see a post on there where Raleigh Jensen's group was going to host the jam.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know Raleigh. And
oh, you know Raleigh.
And
good deal.
Yeah. So I thought, well, that may be a little bit more in my wheelhouse than, because it can get pretty rock and roll down there.
Yeah.
Especially the later it gets. So I just rolled the dice and thought, I'm going to take my gear out and see what happens. Mm-hmm. And, that's kind of how it started. Was the jam. And it's incredible the number of people that I've met.
Oh, yeah,
just
for sure.
From showing up down there.
Oh, yeah. The amount of gigs you've probably gotten.
Oh, yeah. The exposure and big shout out to Jesse Wilson. He was actually the first one that approached me after that, like a week or two after that jam. Jesse calls me or sends me a message and says, "Hey, would you be interested in recording on one of my songs?" And I'm like, well, I guess so. I'd never done any recording at all before.
Oh, really?
So
that's pretty striking, actually.
So I said, sure, I'll give it a shot, So, and that's kind of how that friendship and started, was from he contacted me, but it was because of the jam session downtown.
Yeah, that's funny, because I remember we talked about it in Jesse's episode, how you just like showed up, listened to the song a couple times, basically played it like twice through, and we're like, there you go. And Jesse's like, yeah, it's a home run. And he just packed up everything.
Yeah, you guys are a little too kind.
I don't know about that. Again, let's just kind of go with it. At the jam, you brought a slide guitar, a pedal steel
guitar.
Yes, not a slide, because you do the knees and the feet.
There's pedals and knee levers on it.
Yes.
So, to clarify, a lot of people maybe know, but a lot of people don't know the differences. And typically slide guitar, if you think about it, is just a standard guitar with the slide on your ring finger or middle finger, however you play it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of guitar players will play slide guitar.
Okay, so that's the one you would basically just put it on your lap and play from there.
And then that's the lap steel.
Okay.
So, and there's a gentleman that plays down at the jam that plays the lap steel.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't
Dan
think of,
Zier.
Is that who?
Yep.
So that is just the lap steel. There's no pedals, no knee levers, But that is closer to pedal steel guitar. Matter of fact, that's kind of how pedal steel guitar started.
Okay.
In the evolution. Pedal steel guitar started out as a Hawaiian guitar.
Okay.
And people can relate to that. But and then it evolved. In country music, they're geniuses. There's guys that are really leaders when it came to putting pedals on that guitar and bending strings and the tuning and it went from 6-string to 8-string and then 8-string with a couple pedals and then 10-string and more pedals and here we are today. I mean, you can get a 12-string guitar with pedals. And
is that a pedal for every string?
Well, no, it's not actually for every string. They may play on each string in their own way, but they all have something to do. So so the pedals is what really, to me, that's what makes the instrument that's what made it a country music instrument.
Yeah.
That's what everybody was in awe about. That's what attracted me to it.
Yeah, it makes me think about, like, I would say the easiest way to do something like that with just a regular guitar would be, I remember seeing some people would put like what they called a B bender on the guitar, and it just bends the B string.
Yeah,
up,
you can
right?
get a B bender or a G bender.
I've seen those too. Yeah. Usually see them on like tellies. A lot of these are
a lot of tellies with a B bender on them. So, and they'll raise that B string a full step too.
Oh, full step.
Yep, they'll bend it a full step.
Okay.
And actually, that's one of the pedals on steel guitar does that same move.
Okay.
So that's how they mimic that sound.
Okay.
Is they'll bend that B string is no different than pushing the A pedal on the steel guitar because it'll raise it a full step.
That's
on
cool.
Certain strings,
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm getting a history lesson here on pedal steel.
It's pretty incredible. And then, everybody, I'm not a music major by any means, but the guys that really developed it understand music theory and what it takes to put a chord together and what notes to change. And not every guitar is set up the same way.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Essentially, they're tuned, open string tuning is the same, but the basic pedal moves there's common ones, but then there's guys that go the extra mile, and you can get a lot of knee levers and do a lot of different things. So
that makes me. So you're just attracted to this instrument because of obviously the way it sounds, the way it plays, etc. But I guess if I was just starting out, I would look at something like that and be like, it's either too cumbersome or possibly too expensive.
All of the above. It can be a little overwhelming at the start, but it's just like anything. You get started working with it and you start picking it apart. And I mean, no one started playing steel guitar or regular guitar for that matter and were good.
That's true. Very true.
So it's about the amount of time you put in in the seat. You got to spend a lot of time with it. And so, I learned to play guitar first.
Okay, yeah.
And my dad was a guitar player, musician. My uncles played music.
Yeah, I want to say I remember hearing your family was pretty musical, or maybe even had a band or something.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Yep, very musical and very talented. And they played music back, it would have been in the 60s and the 70s.
All right.
Back when country music that's actually the music I grew up listening to.
All right.
And I love it. And so Jesse, when we play with him, he can pull out some old Waylon Jennings song, and I know it because I grew up listening to it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that makes it easy for me. But so I've been around it my whole life. And
that's lucky. I mean, not everyone has been around music their whole life. I mean, there was a piano in my house, but nobody played music.
Yeah.
Like my dad had 2 cassettes You know, if it was on the radio, that's what we listened to, and it's usually talk radio. So there was a lot of stuff in my wheelhouse that didn't necessarily work in my advantage.
Yeah. So, you know, that is a big advantage. And you know, I believe music obviously is a talent here, and it's a God-given talent. You can learn things, but you still have to have some God-given talent to actually do it.
I will say, throughout giving guitar lessons, the one thing I would say is the God-given talent is probably rhythm.
Yep.
You know, a lot of people, you can learn, oh, these are the notes, I have to play it in this order, blah, blah, something, but to get the timing down.
But to actually have a feel for it, that comes from the person. That's really... And of course, you can learn and grow in that, but you got to have the natural talent. That I think the natural talent is probably what gets you started and keeps you interested.
Yes, yeah.
Because if you lack that, you know, because everyone has talents of some kind.
Oh, yeah,
you know, I mean, I'm probably not your track star by any means.
Okay, yeah, okay, makes sense. But
but other people are, you know. So everybody's got their own talents, and it's just about, you know, doing what you love to do and what you're good at, or you find what you're good at.
Yeah, figuring out a way to foster it. You know? I remember giving guitar lessons. I told a lot of kids that, like, you'll have a passion for this now, but like finding a way to keep it interesting for you is going to be the thing that keeps this going. It's nothing about what I'm doing, unfortunately, even though I'm the teacher. You know, you have to have a passion for this to actually want to do it.
To actually want to do it. Yep. That's so true. And, you know, so I grew up around it and love the music, and that's how it all started. And
so what was the first instrument you played?
Guitar.
It was guitar. So you didn't do like piano or
well, I took piano lessons when I was, I don't remember, young, and absolutely hated it.
Is that because you didn't like the piano, or was it the teacher, or
well, I don't know if it was because the sun was shining, it was nice outside, and here we are in the house.
Oh yeah,
practicing piano.
Yeah,
and it just was. It was probably just bad timing. Because I wish I would have stuck with it.
I still say that's the one instrument. It's like, I wish I could play this more than anything, more than the drums, more than anything. I wish I could play the piano.
You know, because there's so many opportunities to play piano.
Oh yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, that's the one thing. There's not. I mean, you're basically the only pedal steel player around here that's gigging a lot. There are others.
There are some. You know. That was one of the comments that come out of Jam Downtown in a lot of the guys that I have met since I've been going down there is, man, where have you been? You're the only steel guitar player around. And I'm like, well, you know, if I'm the only one around that in town, that makes me the best one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it makes you the worst one.
It makes me the worst one too. So
no, I'm just kidding. Goofing around. Okay, so this is, I almost want to like find the way to bridge the gap from like you first started playing guitar, your family's musical, to you showed up at a jam night.
How did I show up at a jam?
Yeah, have you always been here? Like where have you been?
Well, I have, and when I got out of high school and tech school, I played in bands in the early 80s all the way through in 95 I quit playing.
Let's talk about that. Why was that?
Well, I had family. My wife was taking care of 4 kids at home, and I was working tons of hours, and it just wasn't working out.
Yeah. I can see that.
There was it takes a lot of time. And so here you are working, 60, 70 hours a week. And then Friday and Saturday nights, you're packing up your stuff and leaving. And by Sunday, you're trashed.
Yes.
And then you get up on Monday and you do it all over again.
Yeah.
And, so it was the right decision. I didn't want to quit playing, but it was actually, looking back, it was the right decision at the time to quit playing.
Yeah.
So, I worked in bands for like, probably close to 15 years.
Do you play guitar or do you do pedal steel?
I played guitar up until about 80. I started playing steel guitar in about 84 or 85.
All right.
And then I got connected with a band, local. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of listeners will remember Dan Trimble. Used to run the music store in town.
Yeah, the name's very familiar.
Yep. Dan and myself.
What was the music store?
Fort Dodge
Music Center.
Yep.
Turn it on and turn it up.
Yep.
I remember that commercial still.
So Dan and myself and my brother played bass guitar. And so we were and there was a fourth member, which we actually went through a few fourth members in that group, but it was a Driving Sideways band.
Okay.
And we were together for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Playing shows around here.
And we played a lot. We played almost every weekend. Here we'd go to Emmitsburg and Mason City. We got to playing down in Ankeny.
Cool.
And that's when it was really getting to be too much. We were playing 3 nights a week down there, all of us working full-time jobs.
Yeah, driving an hour one way to go play a show.
It'd kill me today to do that.
Yeah. Well, you're still doing that a little bit with Jesse every now and then. A
little bit, and I said when I started to dabble back in it, just because it never leaves you. Mm-hmm. If you're a musician and you got a love for music, it's who you are. It doesn't go away because you quit playing, it doesn't leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kept most of my gear. I got rid of some of it, but I kept most of it. My steel guitar I kept and my lead guitar I kept. And so
just one guitar? That's all you want?
Actually, I have 2 guitars.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. It would be tough for me to parse down some of what I have. I would think if I was going to take like a 15-year break or a 20-year break, it'd be tough.
Yes. So anyway, like I said, I quit in about 95 and then, 20 years later, almost 30 years later, I decided to dabble back in it. Yeah.
was almost
think
30
about
years.
that. So,
the passage of time, constantly making me feel older.
It does make you feel older for sure.
I was doing a podcast earlier today. I was talking with somebody about downtown Fort Dodge in the 90s and the early 2000s. And I was just like, 15 years ago or so. And it's like, no, that's 20 plus.
That's 25 years ago.
Whoops.
Yeah, it was so like 28, 29 years I was kind of out of the scene.
That's wild.
I did a little bit of music. I played some fill-in jobs, nothing serious, just a couple here or there, whatever. But, times changed and I got more time on my hands and essentially I have the time to do it. Yeah. So it's a little easier.
I do want to say, like, if you missed it, he said he plays electric guitar, lead guitar as well, which was one of the other fun things I remember going to. I believe it was a Dakota City jam night.
Yes.
And you're playing pedal steel, and there was another pedal steel player there, and maybe a lap steel player there as well.
I don't know if the lap steel, but
it was
pedal
Jeff
steel guitar.
Havelock
Halverson.
Halverson. There we go. That's what it was. I remember, and that was one of those things where it's like, well, do we need 2 pedal steels? And then this is when Dave goes like this. Whoosh, gets out an electric guitar. It's like it came out of his back pocket or something. He just starts shredding electric guitar.
Shredding.
Well, I liked it. I've seen a lot of people play a lot of music, and I was just like, dang, as if he's not good enough at the pedal steel, he's got to get the electric out here too and show us all up.
Well, when I went downtown to the Eagles Jam the first night, I took my standard guitar with me, and I go in, I set my steel guitar up, and musicians just keep showing up, and everybody that shows up's got a guitar, and I'm like, there's no sense in me getting that thing out of the case. There's plenty of guitar players here. They're better than I am. There's no reason to even get it out. I'm gonna leave that by itself. And so I didn't even get it out and play it. I was perfectly content sitting and
I think that's the blessing and the curse of that jam is the fact that there's so many musicians. If you play a guitar, you're not going to get roped into playing for an hour and a half, you know, to fill up time.
No.
You know, that's the benefit, but it's also the curse. If you want to go out and play a bunch,
yeah,
you might only get 5-6 songs in there or something.
There's so many guitar players. I am blown away because, of course, I've been out of the loop for so long. I am just blown away by the number and the quality of the musicians that show up down there. It's just amazing to me.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of that probably has to do with Chris Carr and Jeremy Ober.
Yeah, Jeremy does a fantastic job. He's quite a guitar player.
Yeah, I mean he does lessons and stuff. He did lessons at Chris Carr's shop when Chris Carr had Eighth Note, and Chris Carr, when there was no music shops left in Fort Dodge, he had the last one, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean Reman's is still here, so I shouldn't throw them under the bus. They have guitars and stuff too.
You can still get a set of strings and a guitar cord or a strap or something.
Yep. Yeah.
And instruments if you need them.
Yeah. So. There was a Tornado there that I was really a Fender Tornado. I was really looking at that one for a while, and I just couldn't pull the trigger on it. I wonder if it's still there. Don't go buy that guitar in case I want to go buy it. No, actually, go buy the guitar and rub it in my face. Say I got it and you didn't.
Wish you would. Yeah.
So. I think of the pedal steel, and I see you bringing it to shows, and it just seems like it's the most instrument it's like you're putting a piano together piece by piece up there.
It is quite a bit. And it's heavy. So, and I will say that I've gotten a lot of help lugging it around. And I won't turn it down.
Yeah, that's my other favorite thing. If somebody says, "Hey, you need a hand?" Yes, I do.
If somebody offers and asks, "Do you need a hand with that?" I'll take them up on it every time.
It's the heavy one.
Yep.
So when I see you putting this bad boy together, you've got a lot of. So the pedals are not actually attached to anything. You disconnect whatever's connecting the pedal to the bender of sorts. Do you have to put that in just the right spot in order to get it to bend exactly?
No.
So
the linkage under the guitar, and maybe that's sometime. Maybe we could do a podcast on just what it takes to make that machine work.
Yeah, because
if there's a lot of mechanical business underneath that guitar.
Oh yeah.
So basically, all the mechanics that bend the strings are in the core guitar.
Okay.
And all I'm doing is hooking a linkage rod into the levers under the machine, under the guitar, and connecting them to the pedal.
All right.
So that's just the connection to get it down there on the floor where you can reach it. But the whole mechanism and the tailpiece and everything that makes the string bend is all built into the guitar.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's so wild.
And it stays the same essentially.
Okay. Do you ever have to calibrate it at all?
You have to tune things just like a standard guitar as you stretch strings and they go out of tune. So you do have to tune it. And then there, of course, there's tuning for just the open string chords, and then you have to tune the pedal so that it bends it the right pitch.
Okay.
Because you can get it in tune open string and then step on the pedal and it can be clear out of tune.
Yeah, it goes like a step and a quarter or something weird.
So just like a standard guitar, if you don't bend that B string far enough or you bend it a little too far, it's out of tune when you bend it. Well, there's stops on the guitar for that. And then there's some fine-tune adjustments on each one of those. So you can go in and tune each pedal. So when essentially, no matter what configuration of pedals you're playing, it's in tune.
Okay.
So
it makes me you got an engineering degree in order to play this thing.
I'm a mechanic by trade.
Yeah, okay. So
I kind of got a mechanical mind anyway. So yeah, I can look at it and see how this mechanic part of this thing works. And you almost have to have some kind of mechanical knowledge to to know how to set it up and tune it and play it. It makes it easier, I think.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
I'd say some of that just goes for like a regular guitar. You kind of,
Sure.
it's kind of nice if you know what the screws and levers and little
Yeah,
doodads
absolutely.
do.
Yeah.
I still remember my very first guitar I ever owned. I was just like, the screw is loose, and you just tighten it up all the way, and you're like, there we go, now it's tight. And it's like, well, now my tremolo doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, wait,
Yeah.
what happened here? And he's like, oh, that has to be loose so the tremolo will work on this thing. Or
Yeah, there's a lot to that too.
So yeah, another thing that made me think of was like, so you step on the pedal and it bends it a full step one direction, bends it up. Obviously, there's nothing that bends it down, is there?
Oh, yes.
There is.
You can lower a
Lordy.
string too.
Oh, that. Okay, as soon as I figured I could get my head wrapped around this, now you can lower strings too.
Yeah, you can stretch them and raise the pitch, and then there's levers and pedals that will lower the pitch of certain strings. So
The next time I've been seeing a guy online that's been like playing the pedal steel is not as hard. And it was like literally when we first started playing shows with you, and it's like, playing pedal steel is not as hard as you think. Here, I'll give you a little lesson. And he's just doing like little lessons here and there. It's like, well,
Yeah.
it sounds easy, but I don't have a pedal steel to try it on.
Yeah.
And then by the time I see another video this guy posts, it's like, I already forgot everything you said before. And now what are we doing again here? I should
Yeah.
send a couple of them to you and be like, is it really this easy?
yeah. Well, it's just like I said before, like anything, when you start breaking it down, no one starts out good.
Yeah.
And you just learn a little bit at a time, and you just keep learning and adding to the knowledge of the instrument.
So how long did it take from you first getting a pedal steel to actually implementing it on a stage at a show? Let me ask you that. Was it like...
Well, I was fortunate enough in one of the bands that I played with early on, I got the opportunity to play. I was playing lead guitar with a pedal steel guitar player
Oh, cool.
who, long story short, ended up being my father-in-law in the end. He wasn't my father-in-law at the time, but before it was all said and done, he was.
Interesting.
And he was a fantastic musician and excellent steel guitar player, excellent fiddle player, excellent guitar player as well. And
Okay, so I'm sorry, I just put it together. So that's, you married his daughter.
I married his daughter.
Whoa! Cool.
But I played in a band with him before that ever happened. That's, matter of fact, that's how I met her.
Oh, cool.
Was through music.
That's even
playing
more
music.
fun.
Yeah.
Well, are your kids musical now because of all this?
Yeah, there's a couple of them that are. They got
Nice.
some musical talent. Yes.
Nice. Did all of them take to it, or were some of them just like, nah, not my thing?
Some of them are, not my thing. But
I'm
they
sure.
all, but they all love music.
Yeah.
Who don't?
I think that's one of the things. I don't have kids, so I think it'd be one of the funnest things about having them is like watching them grow up and see what kind of characteristics and traits they take from you or their mom or into adulthood.
Sure.
That's fun.
For sure.
That's crazy. So you played lead guitar with a guy that played pedal steel, and then how did that translate into you?
Well, I'd love the instrument. Matter of fact, the guy that was Kenny Photo was my father-in-law, my late father-in-law. When I was in high school, I used to go listen to his band because I wanted. That's what I did. I was interested in music, and I loved the steel guitar, and so I would go listen to his band play.
Is that like in Fort Dodge?
Yeah, he would play in Fort Dodge and in the surrounding area. And I remember, this is kind of a cute story. I was probably 16 years old, and I found out he was playing at the bar in the local town where I was living or going to school at. And so I went down to the bar. Of course, I wasn't old enough to get in.
Yeah.
But so I was sitting, and they played in the lower level. So there was a staircase that took you into the lower level. Well, the band set up right in front of that. So I could sit on the stairs and see the band.
Oh, cool.
So I'm sitting on the stairs listening to the band, and somebody walks by and wants to know what I'm doing. And of course, I'm only 16 years old. They won't let me in. Well, that would have been back in the late 70s. Well, Kenny knew my dad because they all played music. Everybody, it's kind of like now, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it was back then. Well, Kenny found out that my Whitey Schmieder's son's sitting up there listening to you play. He talked to the bar owner and he got me in.
Oh, I love it. Vouched for you.
Yep.
Let you come on in. Dude, that's so fun. I still remember going to shows when I was too young, and like I recall going to a few with like Bob Johnson.
Yep.
I had like kind of knew him when I was younger, and he had taken me to a couple shows because he knew I liked guitar, and he was like, well, let's go check it out. And I'm like, well, you know, it's in a bar, I don't know if I can go in. And he's just like, you're fine to come with me, you're not going to cause any problems, just come on with, you know.
And we're talking about the Bob Johnson from Hardy, Iowa.
Yes, the Bob Johnson.
Bob Johnson
Needs to come on the podcast, Bob Johnson.
How ironic. Bob Johnson was the bass guitar player in my father-in-law's band.
No way.
For many years.
That's
yes.
awesome. Dude is crazy talented on every instrument.
Yes. Yep.
I remember just being like, nah, he can't play these instruments that good.
Yeah,
Then you
he
watch him, you're
can.
like, oh, yeah, he can.
Yeah, he can. He's a super guy.
Oh,
Fantastic.
100%. Nice guy.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I actually just got the chance to play with Bob for the first time at one of the Dakota City
Yeah.
jams maybe
Yep.
2 months ago or so. And that was
Yep.
like kind of a weird feather in my cap. It was like, you know, 20 years ago, he was taking me to go see
Ain't that
jam
something?
nights, you know,
Yep.
that were on the second floor of the Eagles, you
Yep.
know, back before I knew, you know, I knew Chris Carr because I took a guitar to him once to have him fix it, you know,
Yep.
that's how I knew him. And I'm over there watching him play. And I mean, I remember even like Eric Nelson, who he was on, you know, whatever, the podcast, one of the, like in the teens, like he went way back in the early days, he was on this, and he's from Fort Dodge here, and he lives in Des Moines now. But I remember watching him play when he was, you know, maybe late teens or really early 20s. He was back in town. And yeah, there's some fond memories of, like you said, you get into these
Yes.
things as a kid and you just, it just consumes you almost,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. So you got local shows. Did you ever go to any like bigger shows ever, or
As far as
like big country acts or anything?
playing them
or just go to watch them, or I mean, because like
a few, not a lot. I saw Ronnie Millsap
okay,
at the state fair back in the 80s, but I'm not a big show goer.
Yeah.
Really. I don't know if I just didn't, you know, the technology wasn't available back then to know about a lot of that stuff like
I
it
didn't
is
think
today.
of that. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
mean, today you just go on the internet, you have a pre-sale list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mean-
that wasn't such a thing back then.
Yeah, I mean, there probably wasn't even like a Ticketmaster back then, or if there was, you had to go to like a store to access it or something.
yeah, I don't even know for sure. But
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. I guess, you know, I didn't even think about that. How just the accessibility of the knowledge, not
just knowing about it,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, I mean, a big show. It'd been the Spencer Fair
Yep.
or the Des Moines or the State Fair. You know,
Yep.
they would advertise and stuff, but otherwise, how do you know?
So did a lot of your passion then? It basically just came from your family, and then enjoying it up through your teenage years,
Yep.
watching other people
Yeah,
play.
just local talent and
That's
family
wild.
talent.
Yeah,
you know?
that's wild. Because I mean, like, I think about like me growing up, and it was just like, oh, I like these punk rock guitarists, and I like this guy because he's metal and he's got long hair, and this dude's, you know, he sings angry songs or whatever. You know, you're just
Yeah.
keying on things you like, and you know, I can go down to FYE and buy thousands of different CDs, anything I want to, you know. And back in the day, it's like, well, you had records, but it still wasn't. Records were more cumbersome than
We
CDs.
had 8-track tapes.
Oh yeah, I like that people skip over 8-tracks when they talk about the lineage of audio, because I never enjoyed 8-tracks.
Yeah.
Call me what you want. The only thing they had going for them was the track forward.
Yeah.
Like that was something that you could do on an 8-track that you couldn't do on anything. Because I'm right, aren't I? Like you could track forward to like basically the next track almost.
the next track. Yeah.
Yeah, and like cassettes didn't have that ability unless you had a cassette player that knew how to do it.
Yeah.
And so I remember cassettes, just like a regular cassette, because I'm that old, but if you wanted to hit like play or like fast forward to the next song, you had to just kind of guess your way to the next song.
Yeah.
Unless you had a really fancy tape recorder. I had a buddy that had one where it would sense silence and it would stop it
And
on
it'd
silent.
stop it.
But sometimes it would stop it on like a dropped beat in the middle of the
Pause
song.
in the
Yeah.
song,
It's
and
like,
you're in the middle. Yeah.
like, okay, well, we'll pick it up from the bridge, I guess, of this part
Yeah.
of that song. That's crazy. So you got a bunch of shows that the local shows are the ones that kind of kind of brought you in on this. Was the first band that you played with your brother then?
I've pretty much always played with my brother.
All right.
In bands.
Okay, so you said he played what instrument?
Bass guitar.
Bass guitar.
Yeah.
All right. So you have like basically a rhythm section to your lead section, always right there with you.
Yep, but he can play guitar too. So
Of course he can.
Yep. Matter of fact, he's working in 2 different groups in the Cedar Rapids area.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he lives down in Kelowna.
Oh, Kelowna's fun. That's like
Yeah.
down south of or southish of Iowa
Southwest,
City.
yep.
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 That's a fun little town because they have it's like not the Amanas, but it's near
Yep.
there and it's the
Yep.
same vibe kind
Yep,
of.
It's the same kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got a nice little brewery in that town. They got a little
Yep.
Mexican grocery or Mexican restaurant in that town that's fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've spent a little bit of time down in Kelowna. That's a nice little area. I always wanted to stop down there and get, if you go between Iowa City and Kelowna, there's a couple places where it's like fresh butter or like things like
Yeah.
that. And it's like,
Yeah.
I want to stop at one of these and get it. I think there might even be a creamery in between the two.
Creamery and
Wow. Small world out there, man. So you never moved out of Fort Dodge.
well, I didn't grow up in Fort Dodge.
Oh, you didn't grow up here?
No.
Okay.
I grew up in Summers.
Oh, okay. Is that where Jesse's from?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
2 Summers hometown boys, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's ironic because his family, I went to school with what would be his aunt.
Oh, cool. What a small world.
It's a small world.
That's wild.
Yep.
That's so
Yep.
crazy.
So he's got roots from the Summers area.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And so when you guys gonna do a duo show and call yourselves a different name, the Boys of Summers?
Yeah, well, you know what? And I don't even remember how we got on that subject one time. He might have said asked where I was from or something, and I mentioned Summers, and then he kind of put it together because I never put it together with Wilson. I mean, I've been out of Summers for so long, you know, but I grew up there, went to school at Cedar Valley, and
Okay.
that was before it was Prairie Valley.
Yep.
And Southeast Valley and all those changes. Yeah.
Yeah, all those schools just kind of started swallowing each other up.
It kept merging them all together. So anyway, so I moved to Fort Dodge in 93.
Okay.
I'd been married for a few years and we moved to town. Started working in town and moved to town.
So for those that don't know, like Summers is not like 80 miles away. It's
like 15 miles
yeah.
maybe.
So you're talking 20, 25 minute drive tops or whatever.
Yeah, southwest. It's about halfway between here and Rockwell City.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That would be, do you have to go through Moreland to get down to Summers?
Yep.
Okay.
You
All right.
you go past Moreland, past Roll In, and then another couple miles, and it's actually about a mile or two south of old Highway 20.
Yes. Oh man, so that's a fun one. I was trying to explain to somebody recently that's younger than me what these like old Highway 20 and new Highway 20 or like business 169, like that used to be the old Highway 169.
Used to be 169.
Yeah, and 169 used to not be a straight shot from like Fort Dodge to Humboldt. It went through Badger.
It was
correct?
15th Street.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you'd go out of town basically almost to Badger then, and then take the curve back on the backside of Humboldt through Main Street, like a lot of those old highways used to.
Yes.
That's wild. Okay, so nostalgia time.
Giving our age away.
Well, it's so funny though, because I remember just being a kid and just being like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna be young forever. And now I'm just like, oh, you remember when the highways used to look like?
Oh my gosh, yes.
We're talking about like stories about downtown Fort Dodge and things like that. It's wild. So, all right, so you play electric guitar, pedal steel. Are you sneakily hiding another instrument that you play that you're kind of like, I do, but it's not something I played?
Well, I haven't played. I played trumpet in school for 8 years and French horn.
Oh, nice. French horn, tougher than trumpet.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yes, I think there's more texture to a French horn than there is a trumpet.
It actually, the low C on a French horn is the high C on a trumpet. Basically,
Really?
you're working an octave higher.
Really? Wow, I would have never thought that.
Yeah.
Man, now I'm gonna have to I'm gonna get my trumpet back out.
Tone wise,
Yes.
that's how I interpret it.
So you played that in school, then I'm guessing.
Played in high school concert band.
Yeah.
I played French horn, but I played trumpet most of the time.
Did you play that into college too, or
No, I didn't go to college. I went to a tech school.
Well, you know,
I
a lot of people could benefit from that nowadays. People,
yeah, we need more kids going to tech schools.
That's for sure.
And less kids going to 4-year colleges. We need blue collar workers.
Yes, we need. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I did a podcast not terribly long ago. Produced one for a company, and they talked about literally just that. How like there's kind of a need for.
There's a demand for it.
Yeah, shorter schooling, cheaper. You get paid more, quicker out of the school.
And there's good money to be made in the trades.
Yeah. So you're not playing trumpet while you're learning how to be a mechanic, basically.
No. When I got out of high school, I pretty much packed up the trumpet, and that was the end of that. But that taught me how to read music.
Bingo, yeah.
And how to count time. You know, so those things I use those things.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of us might take for granted. Those of us that played, like I played all through junior high and high school too, but it was like I really just wanted to play the guitar, but you can't play the guitar in concert band, you know. And when you're I'm from Humboldt, nobody knew really how to play the guitar, so they can't teach you how to play guitar. And then you're kind of stuck with like, where I don't know where to go from here, so you just go with the trumpet and call it good enough. But when those influences kind of come back out every now and then, you're like, oh
yeah. It's funny because I can read music. I can read treble clef. I can't read bass clef.
I'm not very good at it.
But I can read the treble clef because I played trumpet in school. But I can't read music and play guitar.
I can't either. Believe it or not.
So I don't know. I mean, I know what the scale is. I know what notes are, and I can figure out what notes I'm playing on the neck of a guitar or on the neck of the steel guitar, but I can't tell you what three notes it takes to make an A chord.
Oh, that's another one where if I sat down, I could tell you, but I can't just like off the top of my head be like, here you go.
I'd have to sit down and figure it out.
Yeah. And it's not like it's terribly hard. Like you could just be like, okay, here's the first, here's the third, and there's the fifth. So that means this is an A, and that's a C sharp and an E or something. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that again,
but you don't need to know that stuff.
No. Well, I think some of that is going to lead to this though. Like I feel like you play guitar possibly the same way I do, where it's kind of like you're playing it by shape, or do you play it by ear?
Both.
Okay. So I do a lot of what I do on the guitar by shape. And then when I have to use my ear, I have to like basically abandon the shape mindset that I have, where it's like, these are the shapes that always work. But sometimes people are playing stuff in shapes that aren't the shapes that I know that work.
Yeah.
So you have to just be like, all right, this is now nothing more than just like a blueprint for a house. Now we have to actually build a house, and things could change here.
Yeah. So the way I usually approach a song that I don't know, and they kick it off or whatever, and Jesse, I will say, since I've gotten back in and started playing a little more music, I have been exposed to so much different music than I've ever played in my life.
Oh yeah.
It is so much more than 3 chords.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
there's nothing wrong with a 3-chord song. Either.
There's nothing wrong with a 3-chord song, but it's some of it's been really challenging, and it makes you a better player.
Yes,
for sure, because you have to pay a little closer attention to what's going on around you. But I forgot where I was headed.
Well, I mean, I can keep pushing this topic. So, like, one of the things was Jesse usually plays his guitar is tuned a half step down, and you're not going to tune your pedal steel a half step down.
No, because he's going to turn around 3 songs later, and he's going to play one with a capo on the first fret, and now we're back to standard tuning.
To a normal guitar. So, for those that don't know, you basically just take every string, go down a half step, and now it plays like normal, but it's just
Yeah.
a half a step lower.
Yeah.
Why? It's easier to sing. It's closer to 432. I don't know. There's a billion arguments for why people do
every
it.
vocalist has got their range that they like to work in.
Yep. And I know that Jesse has been trying to push his upward a little bit more.
Sure.
So that's why he will now capo the first fret and just go right back to a regular guitar.
Standard tuning.
Yep. And so that's one of the things where it makes me think like you're probably used to playing this guitar, your pedal steel open. So there's no reason to, okay. So when I'm playing with Jesse, I usually put a capo on as he does. Not always. If I'm playing electric, I usually don't, because I don't like capos on electrics. It just feels weird to me.
I get it.
But if I'm playing an acoustic, it's just like, well, now I have to put a capo here because I don't want to make like a B flat chord all day long, you know?
Exactly. You
not-
don't want to have to cover all the strings. You have to bar every chord.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's one of the big differences from playing standard guitar to steel guitar is the bar is in your hand on a steel guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So I can put that bar anywhere I want.
Mm-hmm.
And my shape doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
So, but where I run into troubles is you get so used to playing in the standard key G, A, E, you know, because very seldom will somebody say, "Hey, I want to do a song in G sharp." You know, they just don't do that.
doesn't happen.
They'll pick a G or an A because they're going to play open strings on the standard guitar, and they can get away with that. So you get so used to playing in those keys, and you know where to move to get the next key in or chord in the progression and all that. And I know everyone that plays guitar is familiar with the dots on the neck. It's like a marker.
Yeah.
It's just like a reference, a visual reference, if you will.
Yeah, if you're driving down the road, it's mile marker 136.
Yeah,
You
so-
know that there's a gas station on mile marker 136.
That just becomes the norm for you. And now all of a sudden I get to playing songs with Jesse, and he's tuned, instead of E, he's tuned in E flat.
Yeah, so now your mile marker 135 is where the gas station's at.
So now we're not playing in those standard positions. We're one half step or one fret off. And my comment's always, can you just play on the dots, Jesse?
Saying it with love, of course. But also, come on, Jesse.
but I like I said before, it does make a better player out of you because you do have to pay a little closer attention. You kind of got to relearn and move away from the standard habit and relearn the neck and what you're going to do. And I still struggle with some of his songs. When he gets going, I'll finally get settled in and I'm in the right position. I'm getting the chords I want. And then I think, okay, I want to move up the neck. I'm going to play with pedals in different knee lever configurations so I can play the same chord in a different spot. It might be easier to move to the next chord in that different spot, so I'll try to make a pass up the neck, and almost every time I will land one fret off.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're playing the octave, that gives you the major 7 if you're a fret low, so you can just bend it up, and you can at least kind of church it into sounding good.
Yeah.
But,
So, you know, like I said, you just have to pay more attention to what's going on and where you're at. And of course, I was very unfamiliar with any of his material. So not only was I learning the chord progressions to the song, I was trying to learn the song, the melody line of what is the melody and how does it move, and just to get a feel for it. But of course, the more just like any song you're learning, the more you listen to it, the more you play it, the easier it gets, just like anything.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you just kind of settle in, and then you can start. Once you're comfortable with it, then you can start to put your own touch on it. But
yeah, I'm sure that takes a lot. You know, like I guess I was lucky in the sense where, like, when I first started playing guitar again, it was like, what is a scale? Where are the keys? How do I figure out what key I'm in? If I'm in this key, what chords are we usually going to use? And then if we're playing this type of music, it is a major or minor, or et cetera, et cetera. And you start to kind of get the basics of that down. You go to the Barnum jams that Clint Riedel used to have, and he's like, all right, this song is C, F, and G, but I got the capo on 6. And it's like,
yeah,
capo on 6?
Yep. So now all of a sudden, now you got to do capo math.
Yep.
That's what I call it. We got to do capo math. And for me, because Jesse uses a capo a lot too, so being a guitar player, I like to sit on the right side of the stage because I can look to my left and I can see the neck of the guitar, whether it's your guitar or Jesse's guitar. I can see their hand, and I can recognize what they're doing. So if I'm questioning what key are we in or what chords he playing, I can look over there and see what he's doing, and that's all fine and dandy until you have to do capo math.
Yeah, and then do the math of
And
he's
now-
also a half step down.
So now you look over and you do the capo math. Oh, okay, he's playing the E chord, but he's on the he's got the capo on the 3rd fret, so that's a G. And now let me calculate that again because he's a half step down, so we're playing in F sharp.
Yep.
And so it really gets to be challenging. But there again, the more time you spend playing music with him, the easier it gets to recognize, you know. And
Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things, like I said, with Clint Riedel was one of the first people I played with when I started playing music, you know, out live with like singer-songwriters. And I'd go to these jam nights and he'd be playing these songs. It's like, I don't have the slightest clue what's going on here. And then after a while, it's like, well, this is becoming easy. And now it's so second nature to me to just look over and be like, oh, it's capo's here. It's Clint. It's most likely going to be these chords or those chords, and this is probably just going to be the key. I don't necessarily always have to look. Sometimes it's just like, what is a capo? It's like 4. All right, got it. We'll figure it out.
Sometimes for me on steel guitar, I'll just, because I know the 4th and the 8th string on the E9 tuning is an E note on my guitar. Well, being a guitar player, that makes sense to me. It's the bass string on a standard guitar. The top and the bottom string on a standard guitar is an E note. So I can grab that E note and I can slide that up there and just listen, and I'll find what key he's in. That's how if I'm totally lost, that's how I'll go about finding the key in a subtle way.
Yeah. I used to tell people, like, as the cheater, that was what I would always do, is like, if they're playing a G on their capo's on the 3rd fret, where is the bass note? Where is the root of all of this? It's like, well, it's on the 6th fret. That's where you're starting.
Yeah.
You can figure it all out from there, but that's a good starting
Once you
point.
find home plate,
Yes.
then you can maneuver your way around it from there. And that's kind of the mechanics to music. That's what I consider it is that's the mechanical part of it. Is how to move your way around that and always land in that. So when you get the instrumental, okay, you're going to take a half the verse or something. You can go out there and you can play whatever you feel like playing, as long as you land in the right spot when you're done. It'll all work out.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
But you got to land back there in that key note, that whether you're playing the root note or the 3rd.
Yeah, if you're starting on a 3rd or something. Yeah. That was something I remember the old bassist we used to have was Jacob, and he was like, try soloing from the 3rd instead of the 1st just to see what happens. And it's like, all right. And then all of a sudden you're like, this actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I got to remember to land on the 3rd, though, when I come back.
Yeah.
Otherwise it doesn't always sound as good. But
and see, I understand all that, but when I'm playing, I'm not thinking I'm on the 3rd. I'm starting on the 3rd.
Yeah.
I just kind of hear it. I know where it's at, and you just try to land there.
That's fun. It's a good blend of, playing by ear and playing by, I don't want to say shapes, but that's
there's nothing wrong with music theory. I don't know a lot of music theory. I know enough to know there's way more to it than what I know. But
Yeah, I mean, you get your like 1-5 minor 6/4s and all the normal stuff. You know, that's the stuff we've all heard. You know, that's your wagon wheel progression or whatever. You know, but there's a lot of that stuff that's just it's second nature to us now because we've done it enough. But
yeah, and you get to the point where you can hear the change and know what it did. You just because you've heard that change from the 1 to the 6 minor. You hear you just know the move.
Yeah, this song that's usually in the major, it's now for some reason in the minor because this is the blah 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 portion of the song, you know, or whatever. You know?
And somebody that really knows music theory can break it all down and explain how it works and why it works the way it does. Well, you really don't need to know that.
No. That's where like I've watched videos. Like I had Danny Rabin from Marbin on my podcast once. You know who Marbin is?
No.
He's like don't sue me. They play jazz fusion, like gypsy jazz is what it is. So like it's like lawless there. Chromatics rule the world in a lot of that gypsy jazz world. And he'll sit there and talk about how like, well, you can play this chord, but you could also just play the inverted C 6 if you want, and it's the same chord. And it's like, what? You know, and I find myself doing some of that stuff sometimes without actually knowing I'm doing it. Yeah. Like one of the weirdest ones, every now and then I'll play a D bar chord. Like I'm using the D shape as my bar chord bass. And it's like, when did I think of doing this? And why is it something that I do sometimes? I don't know. It just works. It just happened once. And now it's just what I keep going with, you know? So I think that's one of the craziest things about music theory is like, you spend your whole life learning the rules and you didn't learn how to break them. You know, that's the one thing I always thought was the worst about music theory, because it's like, well, I know music theory, but that shouldn't exist. And Jimi Hendrix does this. Why does this sound good even though it shouldn't? And it's like, because it does. That's
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, that's the explanation. Because he ended on the 1. That's why
he landed in the right spot. Yeah, and he got done
exactly. Yeah. You know, it sounded good because he lit his guitar on fire.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh my gosh! So we've got a pretty good basis down for like, you know, I do want to say this. We're getting close to the end here. We've got almost an hour recorded, but like, you have been this weird beacon of popularity everywhere we have went. And I know you're going to be like, ooh, come on. We'll play shows in like a dive bar and everyone's just like, that guy's the man. We'll go play shows in like a college bar that is full of like young women. And it's just like Dave Schmieder on the pedal steel. Whee! You are the Pied Piper of Okoboji, I think is now what we're going to call you. Because there were people walking down the street hearing a pedal steel and like, I'm going wherever that noise is coming from.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either, but you know what? Rock it, man.
I don't get it. You know, the Okoboji job was a fun job.
Yeah.
And the crowd was into it, and the sound man was awesome.
Yes, that was Rob, I believe his name was. He was very good.
And it was a fun place to play, and they were so accommodating.
Yeah.
They were very helpful. Them guys lugged all my stuff in, and they lugged it all right back out when we were done. So
dude, it was funny. Yeah, the door guys were just like, "What are you doing here?" And he's just like, "I'm playing guitar in here." Oh, you need some help? I was like, "Yeah." And Dave just handed him the heaviest.
I took him out to the van. I said, "This has got to go," and they carried it all in.
I'll tell you what, those big burly guys. Yes. You had the right guys for the job for sure. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it almost doesn't matter if you're playing country. I bet you could go to a church, and when you're done playing, everyone would be like, "Wow." I'm just maybe not, but have you ever played at a church? Pedal steel seems to go good with church.
But there is a lot of gospel tunes that'd be good on for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Was it Jeff Halverson? I think he played at church. He used to play at churches at like Christmas time or something like that.
I love Christmas music, so I'm gonna have to bust out the Christmas tunes.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. If you play at any church, you let me know. I will show up. I will wear flame retardant clothing and I will show up. It'll be a great time.
Yeah.
No, again, it's weird that like you showed up and it's like, there's a lot of people that are like, where did this guy come from? And you've been here this whole time. You just kind of been hiding out.
I've been kind of laying low for a long time.
Yeah.
And I still, I just decided it was time to get my guitar back out of the case and play a little and dabble in it. And I wasn't really looking for, and I'm still not, I'm not looking for a full-time gig. I'm not looking to play every weekend, and I just not. That's just not what I want to do. But I do enjoy playing music. So, and Jesse's been awesome to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, he
easygoing, very easy to work with.
well, and not just Jesse, everyone in that group. It amazes me, the talent and everybody's got their own talent in their own way, and it just works.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just works.
Yeah.
So.
It's fun because you got like Taylor plays by ear and he plays violin. He was on the podcast a while back. Go listen to that one. That one was like, if you haven't listened to the Taylor episode, you have not.
I have not.
I highly recommend you go listen to that episode.
I need to listen to
that
it.
one. That might as well have been a Barbara Walters interview. That was great.
Is that
yeah,
right?
that's honestly one of my favorite episodes I've done as of right now. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, he plays a lot by ear, so that kind of lends itself to you. But then if you need the music theory portion of it, you can lean on me or Brad, the bassist, and
Brad's good. And
Coal Miner plays drums.
Yep. Everybody's like I said, everybody brings it in that group. It really works well.
Yeah.
And there's no drama.
Nope.
Everybody gets along fine.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would not be in a band with anyone if there was any drama.
Yeah.
I went through that one time and it was difficult. The only reason I stayed was because the music was fun.
The music's fun, but when that outweighs the music being fun, then it's time for a change.
Yeah, about the time somebody asks you to pick a side in an argument, it's just like, I don't think I'm going to play this game, guys. I'm sorry. Like you can both hate me when it's done for. But,
Yeah, I know Jesse, he contacts me occasionally. You know, I've done a duo with Jesse a couple times.
Oh yeah, up in Clear Lake, I think.
Up in Clear Lake.
I was booked that show and couldn't do it.
It was a good time.
Oh, you did the trio show with him
then
and Brad.
I did a trio out at the sports page with Brad and Jesse and myself.
Yeah, the reverse Jesse Wilson trio.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. It's like there's no me or Taylor.
Yeah.
He doesn't, but I think you got your electric guitar out that show, didn't you?
I did.
Nice. I'm
did.
so sad I missed it.
Well, when the first duo I did with Jesse, I asked him, I said, who else is going to be there? And he said, just you and me. And I said, okay, I'll bring my guitar, because I don't know. I'm the steel guitar player when it's Jesse's full band.
I could see where you think that.
You know what I mean? And we got a guitar player. Let that guy play guitar. I'll play steel guitar, and stay in my lane.
But how are we going to bust out the sweet Thin Lizzy licks?
Well, that's
with dueling
true
guitars,
too.
Yeah. Someday.
We might have to introduce a little bit of that.
Yeah. Oh,
together.
How fun would that be? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Just to have you like rise like a phoenix from behind the from behind the pedal steel and start shredding some leads with me.
No, you're too kind there.
Oh man. No, I am not too kind. I gotta say it. Like you're easily one of the more modest people in playing music. I mean, it's so weird. I feel like our own talents are the ones that we take for granted the most. Because like I've heard myself play guitar every time I've ever played guitar. I'm tired of it. I don't think it's that special. I don't care.
Yeah.
But when I play with other people, they're like, "Boy, you're pretty good." And it's like,
there's a lot of players that are a lot better than I am.
yeah, I'd feel the same way.
And I'm not afraid to admit it. But
Hey, the public wants what the public wants, baby.
It's a good time.
Yeah. Oh man. So we've got just over an hour in here. I feel like I got a good baseline of like who you are, where you came from, what got you all interested. Let me ask you this on the way out. Is there any like real goals with this? Any future goal? Do you ever want to front a band? Do you ever want to like be the guy singing? Because I'm pretty sure you can also sing, right?
Well, I can sing. I usually tell them I'll sing the last song of the night to get them out of here.
Okay.
But I've done a little singing. I don't consider myself a very good singer.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people that are way better singers than I am. And honestly, when I started playing music in bands, I had a hard time, and I still have a hard time playing guitar and singing, multitasking.
Oh, really?
Like that. So my head is in the guitar, and I mean, I can't even I cannot carry on a conversation with someone if I'm playing guitar.
I'm not the best at it.
The most you'll get out of me is a yes or no question.
Yeah.
I can nod my head, but I can't have a conversation or answer questions or nothing when I'm playing music. It's
The trick I've found is like if you want to say something to somebody, you do a little lick and you bend a note and you lean over and you go, "Hey, do that," and then you go back to shredding a little bit.
Yeah.
The bend is your saving grace.
and for the longest time, when I was playing with the Driving Sideways band, we were 3-piece.
Oh, you got a lot of space to fill with your sound.
So I was doing all the guitar work and all the steel guitar work, and some songs I was between both instruments in the same song.
Oh wow!
So I was busy for the whole show, start to finish. You were constantly doing something instrumentally. So I didn't concentrate on singing at all.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the only reason I'm good at it is because the first thing I ever tried to sing and play, maybe this isn't something you know, I tried to play like a Megadeth song, and that's what I like learned on, was like basically like very busy Metallica type music.
Yeah.
And it's like, who learns to sing and play to that kind of music?
Exactly.
And why would you ever want to do that, you know? But that's how I learned. And then I eventually was just like, oh, playing just open chords and singing is not terribly hard. You know, that kind of, it lended itself to that eventually.
Yeah, and so I mean, I can sing a few tunes and play guitar and play the rhythm guitar with it. My problem is I hear the lead guitar stuff going on that I should be playing, but I can't because I'm singing. And I suppose it, like anything, if I worked with it enough, just no different than learning a new song. You would learn how to do it.
Yeah. And that's, you know, it's just a trick in the bag. Like with every new song you learn, it's just a new trick in the bag, a new trick in the bag.
Another thing to learn.
Yeah.
So maybe I should challenge myself with that. I don't know.
Well, there we go. Eventually, you're just going to be one of those guys that has like a bass guitar or bass drum on the back, and you're going to be like stomping on stuff and snapping cymbals between your knees, and you could be playing a whole one-man band by yourself.
I especially like being the support to get a good singer up there, and I like being part of the support of that, you know, and when it's my turn to play, I want to play, I want people to hear me, but then I want the group to come together and support the guy doing the singing.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, ultimately it's Jesse's name on the marquee.
Yeah.
You know, it's his name on the poster that's there. So it's not Jesse Wilson featuring Peter Stockdale and Dave Schmieder, you know, so like that's another thing. Yeah. I hear that a lot at sound guys, you know, jam nights from sound guys, things like that. And it's weird to hear this now, because when I was growing up, it was the opposite issue. They say, turn your guitar up a little bit. It's not loud enough. And it's like, oh, I don't want to be loud. You know, I want to blend in. So I ended up learning how to like utilize a guitar tone that was more, it just
subtle.
Yeah. It sits in the back a lot easier.
Yeah.
Unless I push a couple buttons and then now it stands
Step
up.
on one of them pedals you got down there.
Yeah, hit the loud button.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, so we got an hour in here. Dave Schmieder, is there anything else you want to, you know, before we leave this episode? I'm sure you're going to come back on eventually and talk some more, but is there anything you want to leave anybody with here? Did we forget anything? Any major parts?
I don't know if we forgot any major parts. I just got to say that I have been introduced to more young talent than, it's just incredible to me, the number of I'm referring to the jam at the Eagles, especially the number of players that come in there, and I'm humbled by how accepting they've been.
Oh, come on.
For some guy showing up with a pedal steel guitar showing up at a jam at the Eagles, and they are like, they love it. And when I went, I wasn't sure it was going to work when I went down there initially. And I mean, I've had a couple other opportunities from that. I recorded some music with Jared Benson.
Oh, yeah.
He approached me. Actually, Alex Trevino got in contact, and that all was because of the jam downtown. And they said, "Hey, we got some new tunes. We'd love to have you play some tracks on." And I'm like, I'm not a studio musician, but
Could have fooled me, man.
and then Clint Riedel had me over to Jesse's, and we recorded on one of his songs. So, that's literally it's things I've never done.
That's so wild to me that you've never recorded anything. 'Cause
Yeah.
it seems like it works out so well. A handful of takes, and it's like you got it.
So, but everyone that I've met, I haven't met a bad one yet. Out of all of, and there's so many. The list of people is just incredible.
Yeah, it's wild. It's crazy how much talent is in Fort Dodge, and like you said, it's everybody here kind of knows each other.
Yep.
It's wild that this town. It almost gets like a bad rap from the rest of the state, but this is easily the best and most positive music scene. It's the biggest music scene per capita by a mile in the state. I will hang my hat on that forever.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe, I've interviewed 200 some people across the state over the course of the last 6 years. Fort Dodge is the best, and
I can't get out of here without a couple more shout outs. Actually, a result of the jam, I got reconnected with a friend, Scott Dahl, and he got a hold of me, and I started jamming with a couple of guys from Dow's, and
cool.
we actually put a little group together called the Four Fools, and we've played a few shows, and it's kind of them guys they're so talented, and they know so much music.
Yeah.
And but it's just different music than what Jesse's doing. There's a few songs that go both ways, but so that's a whole new avenue that we could talk about that too. And those guys are incredible. Leonard Cook and John Mandel and Scott Dahl, they're fantastic.
Yeah, Scott, as like you said, Scott knows a lot of music.
Yeah. And there's some history there too. And then I just was over last night. Actually, I go over to Hampton the first Monday of every month. They have a open jam.
Oh, really?
At the Windsor Theater over there.
No way.
And that music, that genre is let's say I'm one of the younger ones there.
Okay. All right.
So I get to play music that I grew up listening to my dad play.
Oh, fun.
And Bob Johnson comes over to that.
Awesome.
Plays fiddle and mandolin, and Bob's sister. And I have met so many people by going over there and jamming with them once a month. I usually try to make it because it's a good time on that Monday night with them. And it's good entertainment.
You have to remind me. I am not going to go participate, but I will definitely go. I want to go just watch once.
So it's an organized jam, and they just kind of go round robin. Everybody gets a shot at it. So
yeah,
but it's fun. It's challenging.
Yeah,
you get to.
But sometimes that's what's fun.
Yeah, and you'll get to hear things over there that you will never hear on an FM radio station.
Nice. It's so old it still has the scratches from the record.
Yeah.
It's just coming right out of the amps.
You can't go and hear the dobro and twin fiddles and a steel guitar and a trumpet player all in the same place.
Dude, that's so fun.
Yeah. Harmonica player. Yep.
Yes.
Stand-up bass.
Ooh, even better.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
Yeah, it is. It is cool too. So big shout out to that group over there too.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even know that was a thing. So hey, learning new stuff all the time.
Yeah, so that's a whole deal in itself.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Dave, this has been amazing. I can't wait till the next one. I seriously can't because this is fun. Next time we're talking more Four Fools stuff. So
Four Fools.
yes,
Yep.
yes. You get a couple more shows with those guys under your belt and get some good stories and come back on here and tell me a handful
You bet.
of those.
Love to.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, thank you. I will talk to you next time.
You bet. Thank you.
There it is, episode 226 with Dave Schmieder. It's a great one. We all know him now, and I'm not kidding. Dave is such a nice guy. You met him in this podcast, basically. Great guy, fun to hang out with, and fun to play shows with. Deceptively good at a lot of stuff, so make sure you go out and check him out. Check out Four Fools live. That's gonna be great. That's just stacked full of great musicians. I know two of them personally have been on the podcast now, so definitely check them out. I'd be excited to see one of those shows, and maybe go to one of those jams that Dave was talking about. That sounds pretty cool too. So yeah, Dave plays shows with Jesse Wilson and Four Fools. I got links down below for all of that. Check it out. And I want to say thanks once again to Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. I got links down below for that. That sounded weird. Anyways, otherwise, I have links down below for all the Audible Farm stuff too. audiblefarm.com is the easy one. Patreon's back up and running. You can watch video versions of the podcast a day early if you'd like. And maybe some other stuff. I'm not sure. Be sure to check out the FDT series that's on our YouTube channel. If you want to go to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe. We've got really close to 300 subscribers. That's pretty cool. So thank you guys very much for all the subscribes on there. Check out all the stuff we got on there. There's plenty more content from the prior years of Audible farming. So there's live shows on there. There's guitar videos and just all sorts of goofy stuff on there. Primarily, though, it features mostly the podcast now. So yeah, otherwise, that's pretty much it. I did kind of clean out the Audible Farm shop. I don't think I have t-shirts listed on there anymore. I do still have some shirts, but I have stickers on there. So if you want some stickers, hit me up. I got stickers. Shop.audiblefarm.com should still lead you there. Otherwise, I got a link down below for it. So check that out as well. Otherwise, just go to audiblefarm.com for everything else. That's it. I'm out of here, guys. Peace.